This is Rebuilding Me. I'm Sal DiGuardia. And this week on Rebuilding Me, meet husband, father, and entrepreneur, Michael David Reilly. Michael David helps businesses and brands understand how to leverage emerging voice platforms and influencers and other online strategies. He's the founder of, get this, Michael David Photographs, which, by the way, is absolutely stellar work. TECHCREW Media, his media and consulting agency, and he's the host of 35K a Day podcast, which is where I want to start off. So for the guys meeting you for the first time, MD, what is 35K a Day and how did this all start?
You know, my 35K campaign really started from my I Decide campaign that started in 2010.
Yeah.
That took legs that I had no intention of it ever becoming anything really. But it came from kind of an epiphany poem that woke me up on November 5th of 2010. And it was this journey of self-awareness and extreme ownership, is what Jocko Willink calls it, of the responsibility of every outcome of my life is because of every single decision I'm making, both in my actions and reactions to the entire world. And because I'm the common thread through every relationship, every job, everything I connect with, I'm the ultimate one that's 100% responsible. So if I don't like the outcomes of my life, then where do I need to make better decisions? And so the 35K a day is from the research that we average 35,000 decisions a day. And every single one of those decisions are the direct instigator of every outcome we have in our life. And until we take full responsibility, we're always going to be deferring blame to someone or something else that didn't go according to our conditions and expectations, which was part of that discovery post my second divorce with my children's mom of where am I fucking up? Right. This was not in my life plan. Like, I did not envision now a second marriage and now being a single dad. I don't want to go through this shit again.
Right.
The first one was hard enough. No kids involved.
Right.
I want a fulfilling relationship, but where am I going wrong? And I started uncovering really hard truths when I became very reflective of my responsibility and my contribution to the demise of every relationship from day one.
And really treating life and our 9 to 5 of life as you're the CEO, man. Mm-hmm. Buck stops with you, right? And changing that mindset from, oh, woe is me and everything happens to me and I just got the short end of the stick and I just got screwed and she's a jerk and blah, 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 or whatever. Really taking the ownership 100%. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. I had
a talk with my daughter the other night. Her mom is the basketball coach of her basketball team. And she was upset, her and her friend, that somebody else got put in a certain position because they felt like another girl on the team, not her, but another girl deserved that position. And I said, honey, first of all, the word nobody deserves anything. You earn what you get. I said, but maybe your mom is the coach who is not your mom when you're on the court. I said, what is the coach's job? To help the team win. That's goal one. That's it. So she's going to put into whoever can maximize their strengths to make that win happen.
Put the best players in the right spots. That's right.
And I said, just maybe she put another girl in that position to test her strength. And maybe that girl was excited she was given a chance. Be excited for her. But maybe the girl that wasn't put in that position, she wanted to see if she could be a true leader by how she responded by not getting what she thought she deserved.
Bingo.
And my daughter went, oh.
She got it?
Yeah. And she's only 11.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What an incredible lesson to learn at that age, man. That's awesome. Understanding that. So that's going to stick with her, right? And you know that at some point this is going to harken. She's going to go back there when she's 30, 35 and she's running a team and go, now now it's hitting me 100%. I might like Sally an awful lot and she's really fun to have coffee with and she gets me and all that good stuff. But this other person, Johnny, edges her out just a tiny bit. I've got to put him in that spot. And it hurts. It can hurt a multitude of ways, but that's incredible, man. That's cool.
That's been, in business and my own opportunities, my own times of me being fired and laid off and changing jobs and starting my own company.
You've been fired? No, I'm kidding.
Holy crap. Yeah.
Every job.
Even
every job.
Yeah. And the thing that I tell, whether it's graduates, whether it's employees of any company, even executives, even a CEO, your only value is equitable to the problems you solve. And when you come out of college, you have no practical value to that company. Matter of fact, you're still a problem because they're investing in you as a company like you would want Shark Tank to do for you, yet you haven't solved a problem or given them a return. You're actually costing them money, which means you're a liability and an expense until you solve problems. So when you think you need to be paid what you're worth, you're not worth dick to that prospective employer, because through the interview process, you're already causing problems. So if you want to be paid more, solve more problems.
Man,
and I tell people, when in the job force, you're 9 to 5, everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody. Just most people don't live up to that capability, because the number one skill of an entrepreneur is you're a problem solver, and you're 100% completely responsible, and you own everything, because as an entrepreneur, you have nobody else to go to because you're the guy. If you take the ethos of your cubicle, of your 8 to 5, and you look at that as that's your own company, and you have another company investing into yours, they want a return. You better figure your shit out.
Absolutely. I'll be honest with you. Even as an employee, so I was a contractor for AT&T at a call center when I really started to kind of come out of the fog of divorce and all that stuff with my first wife, and just messy, high conflict, just a really bad situation, and realizing that I had this, 9 square feet of space, and I was totally responsible for it. And I treated every single customer, even though I'm working for, first of all, as a contractor for another company. So you almost, just naturally feel like it's like a caveman version of employee, but like a downgrade. But I took it seriously, and that is what helped me, pretending like it was my little sub shop. I grew up in a deli. My dad had a sandwich shop. He ran his business, and every single customer that came in, he focused in. That was maybe what it was. It was remembering those times. See, the dad stories, man, are great, because they always come back.
I know,
always come back. And he would, every single person that walked in the door, he would address them, even if he didn't know them, immediately. Hey, my friend. He would wave at them. Hey, how you doing? Right, and just build that rapport instantly. And he was very, very successful. Is the punchline. So I did the same thing. I treated it like a business, and I was responsible, and I had my results, and I had to get better at certain things, and it worked. And I gradually, I began to coach others, and then the rest is history. So it works. It really does. It works. But I use that exact analogy. This is my sub shop. This is my sandwich shop. A great leader that I worked for, said, treat it like a flower shop, and it's you and the owner, and that's it. There's nobody else, right? You're the only employee. And what happens if you're 5 minutes late? Is there a line at the door or not? Okay, that helps. I get it. And when they get in the door, are you in the back dicking around? Are you out on a smoke break? Or are you there servicing your customers? Like, I get it. 100%. So thank you for that, man. And thank you for clarifying 35K, because I was almost afraid that you were going to tell me that you're running 35K marathons, and that you were going to invite me to one at some point, and I was going to have to decline because it's not going to happen. That's a really brilliant take on it. I actually hadn't ever heard that before. 35,000 decisions that we make every day. I have trouble with 2, right? I mean, seriously, like, which shirt am I going to wear today? Or what am I going to have for lunch? I mean, even just the small stuff. So it's interesting to put that in perspective and understand that's got to get some priority and attention, right?
Well, we want certain outcomes in our life,
right?
And we really want to attain certain things of happiness and confidence and fulfillment in what we do. But we so often make decisions that set us up to fail and hold us back, to the point like even putting energy in deciding what shirt I'm going to wear. I literally have maybe 10 shirts, and that's all I pick from.
Right.
Because I don't want to waste any amount of energy on what I have to decide to wear.
Exactly.
I mean, it sounds really silly.
Not at all. It's the Steve Jobs theory. That's why he wore a black turtleneck and jeans every day. It's one less thing he had to worry about. Right?
Yeah. And, there's certain things I do to prime myself for my day. I know the times when I'm most productive, that I'm better at analytics than I am at creative. And so to be effective in me as a professional and what I do, as well as making sure that I am fulfilling the duties that I require of myself to build a fulfilling marriage and raise my kids the way that I feel like they need to be raised. I have to know how to set myself up every single day to perform at my best.
100%.
And 35K a day it's really a reminder for myself that I was encouraged to push out into the public ethos of social media. And it turned into something I never anticipated. I backed away from it when I was going through some really hard times, and I had to use it instead of distribute it, and to get me through some really hard, trying times when the practicality, and I'm a very binary guy. I'm a forensic mind, and I like to know the cause and effect,
right? Because
I need to know what action steps I can actually sink my teeth into and put to work. I don't work well with philosophy or theory. I'm all about practicality, 100%.
Right.
Which is why even in my time of self-discovery post my second divorce, I had to figure out where am I going wrong so that I'm not doing this to myself again or to someone else. So in business and everything. And it was I've lived by it. I just didn't realize it. And the tattoo that I have down my entire spine is really my mantra that came from a quote I wrote in my journal when I was on an assignment in Nigeria. And I really felt like my life was about to end. Things were very dark and bleak, and I saw no way home. And I just wrote this quote down, and I didn't revisit it for months. And when I reread the quote, it stuck so hard because, through the volatile childhood I had with my mom being a manic depressive bipolar alcoholic, to a very tumultuous upbringing, I always felt like I was the victim of everything. And cycling was my escape. It was something I could control because I felt like everything else was out of control. We need certainty in life. That's right. The only way that we make really good decisions. When we can separate emotion and logic, but without certainty, that's when we panic. And so I had to figure out a way to not fall into a panic state. So I have to find certainty in a room of darkness. And so I began to find the practical ways to do that. And I found so many lessons from my life as a competitive athlete, as a cyclist, from the age of 12 to my mid-30s as a triathlete. And all those things I gained, I've deployed into business, relationships, and most importantly, myself, because I'm the common denominator of everything in my life.
Right.
And if I keep seeing similar outcomes, then I'm the one that's responsible. So it's not, why do I keep getting dumped or why do I keep getting fired? Well, where am I going wrong?
Right.
What do I need? I'm directing myself in the wrong ways. So there's just so many practical lessons that I've gained from looking back in my life. And the tattoo says, when all else fails, I won't. And it's a choice, because people will fail you. Circumstances will not go your way, but it does not mean that you have to fail yourself, because it's that sense of resolute. I, was raised by, my dad was a pastor. I was a preacher's kid, non-denominational church.
No kidding.
Was raised in faith. Yeah. But even then, with a lot of things I was being exposed to, it was the wrong side. It was the judgmental side of people's own fears. It wasn't truth.
Right.
And I had to completely flip God off and cuss him out and walk away from him, because I'm like, if this is you, I don't want you. If this is who you are, I'm out.
Which happens for a lot of people. The truth is that, unfortunately, is the story for a lot of folks. A lot of great churches out there too. A lot of really great Bible teaching pastors that do a fantastic job. So, but that is reality. Yeah.
And I'm a guy that always asks why. I'm the why kid. I'm a why guy. And I've asked many pastors of big churches one specific question that I've always wondered about, and nobody can give me a straight answer. And it's not that I don't have faith in church. I had to accept the fact that people are limited. They only are going to deploy their knowledge based on their own fears and their own desires for certainty in certain areas in life. Their needs are different than my needs. So I may hear their spin, just like every motivational book on the planet. They all come back to one core. You know what that is?
What is it?
If you want a better life, make better decisions.
Period.
End of story.
Yep. Tony
Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Jesus Christ, there's 5 million of us.
All of them.
But
all of them. Yeah.
the core and foundation, if you've ever listened to Tony Robbins, in a 10-minute video, at least 9 to 15 times, he'll say, you have to decide.
Right.
It's the core of everything.
My very deeply held belief, what got me through it. Now, this is where I'm going to switch it over to you for a second, put you on the spot. But my deeply held belief is that when I finally knew it was up to me to make a conscious decision to do some things differently is when things begin to change. And regardless of how hard that was going to be, I needed to make conscious decisions, whether it was just start with the easy stuff. I started with, I got to get to work, right? And get there on time, right? I got to be a good employee so that I can eat, right? One thing leads to another. So what do you think it was for you that was that switch? When did it kind of occur to you, or was it a process where you understood, holy shit, something's got to change?
When I was in my early 20s, I was living with this girl, and my life was really just out of control. I had a scholastic scholarship to a liberal arts college. I lost that after about 3 semesters. Had to work. My parents were broke. I had to work, and because of some things happening at home, my mom actually showed up to my house, and all my shit was on the front porch.
Whoa.
So I was kicked out. I was 18, 19, and I was homeless for about 2 months, just hopping from friend's house to friend's house, put my shit in a friend's garage, and got a job at McDonald's in the morning from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I worked at a cabinet shop from 5 p.m. to midnight.
You did McDonald's too? Yeah, I did it a few times. Yeah, when stuff got rough, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember walking home from McDonald's to my duplex, which is about a 2.5-3 mile walk. And it was on a route that I used to ride my bike all the time, training for cycling races. And I tripped and fell. And I screamed and I cried because I was just I smelled like a French fry. I was not where I envisioned my life that I ever wanted my life to be. What the fuck?
Right.
Basically. And I started beating the dirt, and I was screaming out loud. And it was fortunately, a kind of a remote 2-lane road. And I just sat there with my face in the dirt. And I just took a deep breath, and I went, this is not the life that I want. This is not the girl I want to be with. This is just not the scenario that I truly want to say, this is it. And I got up. I got on my knees, and I sat there for a second, and I kind of giggled because I realized I just literally fell flat on my face in my life. And I laughed but you know what? I'm still moving forward.
And had to figuratively and literally pick yourself up off the ground and start moving forward. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And so I started just taking action. I started making decisions. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works.
What did you start with? What was one of the first things that you remember? All right, I'm going to focus on this one and see if I can just tweak this one thing. Do you remember that far?
I joined the Marine.
Did you really?
Well, as a kid, it was cycling. That was my escape. It got me out of the house. My mom was highly volatile. She was very abusive, and I didn't want to be around that. So that was my time to get away. And because I could own that, I could go as far and as fast as I ever wanted to. That was mine. And that was my resolve through so much in 12 to through high school. And I got injured in the off season. I had an aspiration to try to make the Barcelona Olympic team, and I got injured. I was just doing lightweight squats, and the weight kind of tweaked, and my L2, L3 slipped, and I blacked out, and I had to crawl out of the gym on my hands and knees. And I went from, I'm 5'8", I was like 138 pounds, dripping wet. I had to crawl out of that gym, and for the next 3 years, I couldn't stand up straight.
Whoa.
I would be walking across a parking lot and pass out because of the sciatic pain. And I didn't have insurance. I didn't have a way to fix it. And so I used food as my comfort, and I gained over 120 pounds in about a year.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was working for Alltel Wireless. I was a field engineer. And I remember getting ready to go to dinner with some friends, and I was turning, we can all hide our flaws and fluff.
Right.
Had on the right outfit, and all of a sudden, at that very moment, I bent over to tie my shoes, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, what? And I did the other shoe, and I stood up and looked in the mirror, and all of a sudden these blinders were taken off, and I'm like, wow, I'm not an injured cyclist. I am just fat.
Right.
I couldn't hide behind the excuses anymore. And so I took everything I ate and I cut it in half. I went and bought some running shoes and a t-shirt and shorts, and I lived in this house on the downtown square of Marshall, Texas. And every day I decided I mapped out from my house a 1.2 mile loop. And I said, every day I'm going to complete that loop. And the first day I did it at night because I was embarrassed to run in the daylight. And at night, downtown was shut down because I was embarrassed of where I had let myself get to. And so with ambition, I leaped off the front porch and started jogging. I couldn't get to the end of my block without a side stitch. And I walked. And every day, I mean, rain, sleet, literally, I didn't care. I committed that I'm going to finish that loop every day. And in about 9 months, I was jogging 3 laps, and I had lost about 40 pounds. And I started adding more laps, and then I started, well, let me just take this right and just see where that takes me.
This was after about how long now that you were doing that process every day? About a year.
It was about a year.
So slow, and then, right? Slow progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had a friend of mine invite me to come mountain biking. I was like, that sounds cool. And then guys were doing an off-road triathlon. Well, I'll do that. That sounds fun. Never swam in my life and loved the triathlon. And then I was like, I used to do time trials, the funky looking bikes with the aero bars.
Oh, yeah.
And And so a friend was like, you need to come do this triathlon. I was like, oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, swimming freaked me out. So I went to the local high school and had some help from a swim coach to figure out how to do it, and competed at a high competitive level for about 3 or 4 years. And that was, for me at that time, when my first wife and I split. And at that same time, when she left, because we've been married for about 13 months, we dated. We kind of went through what I felt was the logical path of marriage, right? Dated, lived together. It was kind of indifferent. Well, I guess I'll propose. I mean, I've been with her this long. Why not? And 13 months later, she literally up and leaves. Like I was out of town. She packs up and leaves.
Any warning? Did you have any clue that it was coming?
Well, I mean, yeah. There were some issues with her, and again, conditions and expectations that I wasn't living up to. And it was not a happy, conducive, inviting relationship. But I'm like, hey, I'm in this. We're going to work it out. We just got to take time.
Committed.
Well, she was like, I'm out. So,
wow.
In less than 30 days, I got laid off from my engineering job at Altel. And so my world went crumbling. I was financially, I was well off, man. And my world just like went, what? So what happened to my parents when they were in their mid 30s happened to me in my mid 20s. And what I thought I had built for myself was now ripped away. Everything that I had preconditioned saying is going to give me happiness is now gone. Now what?
Right.
And that's when I went all in with triathlons. Because again, when I see people go through trying times with a relationship or a career, financial, we need certainty. And we'll look for something that we can control, which is typically going to be our fitness, because we can alter our habits, and then we'll see a result, which gives us confidence that we can actually do something productive with a positive result.
Sure, yeah.
And we need that confidence to be able to face other things in our life. So I dove in, and then I had to get a job. I ended up being the manager of this hardware store that I actually spent a lot of money at remodeling my house at the time. And
so just great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, just found my way. And then just kept taking opportunity. And everything I did, every house I lived in, I just made sure that it was better when I left than when it was when I showed up. And because I was a college dropout, I always felt like the underdog. And I had to massively learn more than everybody else, because I felt like if I didn't, then I would never be respected.
Right.
And I needed to feel like I needed to learn everything. So whatever it is that I do, I'm so laser focused. I want to be my absolute best at it. Because I even as a triathlete, I never raced against anybody. It was me. Because I always felt like comparison really just robs your joy.
Right.
It's really the antithesis of happiness. When you fall into comparison, because you're trying to frame a new level of conditions based on other people's lives, and You don't know them. You don't know their fears.
And it'll never
limits,
look like that. It just won't.
No, it doesn't.
And honestly,
Right.
if you're successful in replicating somebody else in your own experience and duplicating that and mirroring it to a large degree, it's still not going to benefit you, because at the end of the day, you're just simply a copy of somebody else's life. So what's the point, right? What is it that?
And all that is,
Yeah.
You're just generic at that point.
Exactly.
I don't want to be generic.
You're always going to be that guy, right?
You know?
You'll always be the guy that's, oh yeah, he's the guy that thinks he's so-and-so. It's like, well, yeah. So personal brand.
So I had to,
right?
I had to pull myself together at that dark moment, and I realized this is not what I want.
Right.
I mean, I want more. I got to figure this out.
And you're at how old at this point?
I was 26, 27.
I mean, it's amazing you figured it out that quick, right? I mean, it takes some of us longer. It takes some of us a little bit longer to get the point. It takes us a couple divorces, like you said. It takes some time, but that's interesting. So 26. So now you're kind of realizing, okay, I got to put some things in place. So what was like the first couple things that you did to really? What did you focus on? What were some of the things that you knew? Okay, this has got to change now that you've got your health back, right? And that part is kind of straightened out. And I'm with you 100%. I'm currently in that spot where I keep going up and down. Like, weight is an issue. It just is. But, eating bags of chips and entire jars of salsa in one sitting is really the issue. But it's just
Dude,
so
I'm
good.
right there with you, man.
It's just so good. I can't stop.
I'm a self-proclaimed taco-tarian. I have a taco at least once a day.
Absolutely. I love tacos, man. What's wrong with a taco? Nothing. What's wrong with 10?
My wife is 100% Sicilian, and she makes the sauce.
Yeah,
and
man.
Chicken parm and all that.
Absolutely.
And I always tell her, the kids asked us one day in the goofy challenges of if you could have this or this the rest of your life, what would you have? And one of them was chips or tortillas. I said I could do away with chips because I can put anything in a tortilla.
That's right. I can make it into anything.
My wife laughed at me. My wife laughed at me, and she always gives me hell for it. But one night, and my wife's pregnant, and one night about a month ago, I walked into the kitchen. I went, "Honey, what are you doing?" And she had this look of guilt, and she took some chicken parm and put it in a tortilla.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. A chicken parm wrap.
I just died laughing, and I went, "You're a tacotarian as well." Of course,
anything can go in a tortilla. Anything. Yeah, that's good stuff.
But I think at that time in my life, one of the greatest saving moments for me was my best friend at the time, and I had allowed so much from my childhood and my high school experiences, my church experiences, and my injury. All these things to really eat at me. And I was dwelling on all what I don't haves and the victim of, as a result of all these other things happening, right? Not accepting responsibility yet. And my friend at the time, he was having this barbecue on this deck that I helped him build. And this young couple was recently engaged, and I felt entitled enough to spout some statistic on the divorce rate and lack of success of marriages at the time.
Right.
I was just an asshole.
Right. And
truthful, not appropriate. Again, it was my unhappiness coming out. And my friend goes, "MD, let me talk to you in the house." It's like, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I want you to leave." I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Dude, you're an asshole."
Whoa.
He goes, I'm tired of defending you. I'm tired of standing up for you. All you are is just negative, and I'm tired of it. I want you to leave. And I stood there, and I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. Like a lot of people would get defensive. They would, flare up. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I got embarrassed because I was a really happy kid growing up, but all of a sudden it was like in that mirror. All of a sudden it was this moment of truth of who have I allowed myself to become?
Right.
I went home and I cried. I mean, ugly face cry for probably 2 or 3 days. I was just in such despair and embarrassment of myself. And I'm like, there's all this and all this that's just not right.
Right.
And I went and sought some therapy, and I had to fix some anger issues and hate that had built up over time of playing a victim. I was deciding to be a victim rather than take action.
Right.
And that was that moment for me that was like, okay, I need to change myself. I don't like the words that are coming out of my mouth. Then I know that those are a root from what's going on in the heart, right? As the word says, out of the mouth, the heart speaks, right?
Right.
And I had to take ownership of that. So every time I had a thought, before I'd even speak, I would stop the thought and go, was this positive? Is it even necessary?
Right.
And then I would have to reframe my perspective on the issue. And it took a year, but I changed my perspective on everything from being pessimistic because of what I was allowing things to do to me to now controlling my thought process. And I changed my entire mindset over the course of about a year. Had a lot of forgiveness. I had to get over a lot of things. I had to just work through reasons why, again, my forensic mind. And I had to understand empathy to be able to understand and accept forgiveness. Once I did that, I became much more optimistic because it was a combination of acceptance, taking extreme ownership of what I had allowed myself to become by being affected by all these things that are always changing,
Right.
and holding people to a level of condition that they just weren't capable of living. When I removed expectation from people, that's when I began to really find happiness, because nobody is ever going to live up to what you want them to live up to.
Ever.
And that's when I realized happiness is not by chance, it's by choice. Happiness cannot be conditional. True happiness cannot be conditional. And I told my wife before we got married, I said, honey, I want you to understand one thing. It is not your responsibility to make me happy. I want you to get rid of it. Now, I don't want you to be the source of pain, because I don't want to be the source of your pain or anger.
Right.
But I do not ever want you to feel as though it's your job to make me happy. That's mine to control. Self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, happiness, those are things that belong to ourselves to control, but most people give that control away to people and things that never even earned the right to do that. And so that's why, because things always change, people's levels of happiness always change and are always short-lived, because it's leveraged on the conditions of the world meeting your will, and it never does.
It's that, and you probably are familiar. I mean, it sounds like you may know what I'm about to say here, because walking into, which I've done a few times, walking into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, what you begin to learn once you really start working it is that you are allowing people to rent space in your head, right?
Yes.
Literally, yes. You're allowing people to squat in your residence of your complete well-being, and it all revolves around, what they think and what they say and internalizing and all that stuff, man. That's just so messy. And I love the way that you structured that. That was brilliant. I'm going to use that with my wife going forward. That look, it's my responsibility to be happy. You don't ever have to come to me and ever ask that question. You hear it in relationships all the time. Are you happy? Do I make you happy? Do you love our life? Well, of course. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. Well, maybe. I mean, if I wanted to be miserable, and I was in a bad place, but at the end of the day, it does. It ends with us, those conscious decisions, right? And
well, let me tell you, Sal, the real hard thing about it is it's when I told my wife that, it was now my responsibility to prove that. And one of the greatest lessons that I took away from my second divorce was the contribution I made to the dissolvement of both of my marriages and countless relationships of dating was the inherent mistake we all make when we meet somebody that all of a sudden we become very infatuated by, is we do things for them on a condition because we want that to be returned. And if they don't return it in the way that we expect them to, when it's not even in their capacity to do it, now we passively react by then shutting them out. And the myriad of all the little trickles of bullshit that happens as a result of all that. So what I realized when I met my now wife, it was not under the pretense of dating. But I remember talking to her, and I was my mind was blown to her poise and her outlook on things. She was different, very different. and very cerebral. My career as a photographer, shooting some of the world's most beautiful people and women all the time, was one of the greatest gifts for me because it removed the allure of physical attraction. Because of so many that were truly, like, on the outside so beautiful, were inherently very ugly inside because of just life infecting them, right? And I learned that, and it demystified. And so I began to understand what really matters is the cerebral part, the intellectual part, not that we love CrossFit or we both love almond butter.
Right.
It's beyond that. And it's a process. Chris Rock, which I love, he talked about dating. He was like, when you're dating, you're not dating the real person. You're dating my representative.
Is that your Chris Rock impression? Is that?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
No, it was okay.
But that's true. We do not put our real person forward because it's a fear of being rejected, right? That is one of our three big fears.
Right.
Disrespected, rejected, and a fear of something bad happening. And when you meet somebody that you like, you have all three.
Right.
You have all three fears hanging out right there below the surface. And which means we're going to put our best self forward. We don't want them to see our failures. We don't want them to see our idiosyncrasies. You don't typically, if a lot of couples, you don't even fart in front of each other until maybe you've known each other for 5 years. And, for me, it's like I tell my daughter, you're not going to date anybody until you're at least 16, because I want you to be friends with all these dudes, because when they're your friend and you're one of their bros, you're going to see how they treat other people. And that's when you're going to see who this real guy is.
That's right. Spend some time around them. Watch how they treat their next relationship.
Be a bro.
Really,
yeah. Once you hit bro status, they're not trying to impress you anymore.
Exactly. 100%.
Right. So with my wife, what I realized as I started to be more fascinated by her and it was reciprocated, I'm like, wow. And we both started to feel that same transition of just, two adults meeting and talking and to, okay, there's something here. And I felt so lucky that she would text me in the morning and go, good morning. My mind was blown. Like, my wife is extremely hot. Like, it's crazy. And she's got this incredible person inside of her. And I'm like, I literally hit the unicorn. And I know that the unicorns don't exist, but I swear to God, I hit the unicorn.
That's amazing,
when it came
man.
And I remember walking through a department store and I saw this case of very expensive watches. And they're locked, guarded. There was a security guy there. And as I'm looking at these watches that you're not allowed to touch, why are you not allowed to touch them? Because they're worth so much and they don't want to take the risk of you damaging those things. And I went, this department store values those watches that they're not going to let just anybody touch it. And I had a moment looking at Bulgari watches that directly applied to my life. And I went, I feel so damn lucky that my wife chooses to be my wife every day, that she chooses to text me, that she chooses to just love me, and I'm her guy. Like, I'm blown away by that. Like, somebody loves me and she knows everything about me. I feel so lucky that I never want to lose that. And because of that, when you have something you really value, you truly treasure, you nurture it. Right? You protect it, you guard it.
Right.
And I realized when it came to something that we value, my two custom, triathlon Tom trial bikes and stuff are in the house. They're always polished, they're dusted, because I value them. And yet we don't do anything to really earn the value of people that really matter most. And I realized something about marriage, and this is where I learned the real practical part of when people talk about the work of marriage and the work of relationships, nobody can ever quantify what that really is.
Right.
And again,
work, man, it's hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like nobody tells you what that shit is.
Right.
I've been to every marriage counseling boot camp. I've read every book, and nobody ever tells you the secret they tell you they think they know. Until I stumbled upon it, because I was looking for it, and I realized it's this. Every day, they talk about you should always be dating. Okay, well, typically we show our appreciation for our loved one 3 times a year: birthday, Valentine's, and Christmas. So you mean to tell me you're going to be building a fulfilling relationship that's going to be massively, overwhelmingly amazing off of 3 days a year?
Major events, yeah.
That's bullshit. So
right.
How do I be better? I realized I do 2 things for myself when I go to bed and I wake up in the morning. I look at my wife, because she always passes out first on the couch, and I look at her and I let it soak in, and I'm present. I'm like, you know what? I never, ever want to lose her, ever, by my own doing. Tomorrow, I'm going to do something to earn her heart, love, and loyalty in a way that matters to her. And I've done that every day since day one.